Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Redneck John, and this is Redneck Deck Tech. I might say redneck too much in my intros. If you think I do, leave a comment. There are very few things in the world that country boys like me enjoy more than critters and cars. And sometimes we get critters in cars. And that's what today's deck tech is all about, because it's Bello, Bard of Brambles, with Trash Panda Mud Boggin, baby. We gonna do critters in cars. Woo! All right. Let's talk about Bello, Bard of the Brambles. You know, when I do that whole all right thing, I'm honestly not sure if I'm trying to sound like Outcast or Matthew McConaughey. And let's be honest, I'm not as cool as Outcast, and I'm not as good looking as Matthew McConaughey, so I should probably cut that one out, huh? Oh well, too late now. Anyhow, Bello, Bard of the Brambles, Trash Panda Extraordinaire, legendary creature, Raccoon Bard, 3/3 for 3, 1 and a gruel. During your turn, each non-equipment artifact and each non-aura enchantment you control with mana value 4 or greater, please leave your favorite iteration of the 4 horsemen in the comments, and as long as your answer is Arn, Tully, Rick, and Barry Windham, you will be correct. Mana value 4 or greater is a 4/4 elemental creature in addition to its other types, and has indestructible, haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So we are going to be jamming this bad boy full of artifacts and enchantments, mostly vehicle artifacts, and we're going to smack the bejesus out of our opponents with them. Now, full disclosure, I have maybe only ever won one game with this deck, because I mentioned I'm a product of the South Carolina public education system, and reading is considered optional in my upbringing. Well, I keep forgetting about this very last sentence here. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Because anytime I smack somebody with an enchantment or an artifact, I should be drawing a card. But I'm an idiot, so I forget a lot of times. But I loaned this deck to my buddy Mike, and he beat the brakes off me with it, as well as everybody else in the pod, because he did not forget to draw cards every time he slapped somebody silly. So that gave me renewed faith in the deck, and I wanted to make this video about it, as I return to playing more Trash Panda Mud Boggin Raccoons in cars. All right. We have to, of course, get her revved up and get her going. I like a lot of low mana ramp in this deck, because I really want to get Bello out on turn 2, and I want to be slapping an artifact or an enchantment down on turn 3 and punching somebody with it. So I run 4 pieces of 1 mana ramp in this deck so that I can hopefully skip a couple turns and get her going. So we've got Birds of Paradise, Soul Ring, Llanowar Elves, and Vinhorn Elves. You can mix and match your mana dorks however you like. You can switch out Llanowar Elves and Vinhorn Elves for Elvish Mystic and Arbor Elf if you feel like it. But this is the split I came up with, mostly because I've got these 2 pretty versions of these dorks, and they look cool. Then I've got a couple of pieces of 2 mana ramp, the appropriate color talisman, 3 visits, and arcane signet. Then we get up into our more expensive ramp, Jessica's Will, which just explodes. I mean, it's on the game changer list for a reason. This is a brand new edition, the Fire Crystal. It's better in this deck than something like a Ruby Medallion, because not only does it do what a Ruby Medallion does, and it gives my creatures haste. Of course, all my artifacts with mana 4 or greater already have haste, but this also can slap somebody because it has a mana value 4 or greater. And yeah, it's got that extra text of making a copy too. I'm not really going to be doing that much in this deck unless there's a board stall and I need to make a copy of a flying artifact to punch somebody with. And then I'm running Mana Reflection in this, and usually I don't want to do a 6 mana ramp spell, but stuff gets stalled up in a bracket 3 game, so I need to be able to double spell late, and I need to be able to get some of my 7 and 8 drop artifacts out a little quick as possible. And if I can get into a dork, or I can hit a Jessica's Will early, I can resolve Mana Reflection sooner, and then I can really get going. The problem with any kind of aggro deck is you're going to have to keep refilling your hand, and that's going to mean I'm going to need to draw as much as possible. Elemental Bond will trigger off of every one of my big old artifacts and enchantments. Faithless Looting just gives me some extra gas early. Garrick's Uprising, same deal. It also will trigger off all my artifacts and enchantments, and it'll give them all trample. And then I put this in for the Charred Foyer piece, but also it exiles the top card, so it gets me an extra card every turn. And then later I can unlock the Warped Space, and I can get a free spell out of it every turn. Plus, the way locked rooms and unlocked rooms work is that they have, on the battlefield, they have the mana value of the unlocked piece. So either piece of this qualifies as a 4/4 creature and will smack somebody. We've got a couple other 4 mana draw spells. Path of Discovery is not really a draw spell, but it's kind of half a draw spell and half a ramp spell. The One Ring is one of the best draw spells in the game, and it'll punch somebody. And it gives you protection, which can be real relevant later on. And the Guardian Project, same deal, y'all. It's every artifact or enchantment you play, once Bello's on the field, will trigger your Guardian Project. And then you've got Rishkar's Expertise. Not as great in this deck as in some big chunky green decks, because most of your stuff's going to have power 4. So you're paying 6 mana to draw 4 cards and then play a 5-drop for free. Playing the 5-drop for free is pretty good. It's kind of a rebate on the cost of the spell. So you draw 4 cards and you play one card for free is okay. It's not my favorite draw spell in the deck, but it's pretty good. Now then, your opponents are going to have some stuff you're going to have to deal with. And some of that stuff's going to come down before you get a chance to get your engine going. So you're going to need a Beast Within early. You're going to need Chaos Warp. You're going to need Bridgeworks Battle. Bridgeworks Battle is especially good. Not only is it an MDFC, so you've got to land on the back that for 3 life can come in untapped, but during your turn, your stuff's indestructible. So you can take out an opposing 6/6 with one of your guys, and your guy lives. So that's pretty dope. Manglehorn blows up an artifact, and it slows your opponents down, especially if you run into another Bello deck. Although, let's be real, y'all. If you're sitting in a pod against another Bello deck, just get another deck out the box. Come on. That ain't going to be fun. Unless it is. I don't know. Then Sundering Eruption. Destroy target land. I always keep a couple of pieces of targeted land destruction in my decks. I don't ever do big mass land destruction, but I'll always have 1 or 2, usually 2 pieces of stuff to blow up an opposing Cabal Coffers, an opposing Gaia's Cradle, even something like a flipped Search for Azcanta can be such a value engine for people. So, just blow up their crap. I really like Return to Nature because it's pick 1, so it can nuke a really specific card that your opponent has put in the graveyard, or it can blow up an artifact or enchantment. Then the Flux, it comes down, it shoots something, it slaps somebody, and then it gets you an extra card each of the next 4 turns. So that's pretty solid. Then it gets you a bunch of mana on its last turn, but really, y'all, this is a 4-drop. If you've had it out for 6 turns, the game's gone on too long. Just quit. Then Starstorm, you need to blow stuff up. This is great if you play it on your turn, because it ain't gonna blow your stuff up. You can deal 1100 damage to each creature, and you don't care because your stuff's indestructible, except for Bello. He's gonna die. But he was a 3-drop anyway. And then Blasphemous Act is the same deal. It'll blow up all your opponent's stuff and not hurt yours. Vandal Blast, well, Vandal Blast already did that. It already blew up all your opponent's stuff and didn't hurt yours. Now, your opponents, well, they're going to be trying to blow up your cars, y'all. And that ain't nice. It ain't like it's a demolition derby up in here. You're supposed to be ramming your car into them. They ain't supposed to be blowing up your cars. So you got to get some Tamiyo safekeeping. You got to get some Tybalt's Trickery. I love me a good off-color counterspell. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, and nobody expects Tybalt's trickery. They always expect heroic intervention, and I don't care. They can expect it all they want. I'm still going to play it. And then you've got your Swifty Foot Boots, your Lightning Greaves. But remember that you're going to be drawing a lot of attention to yourself and a lot of hate. So, and a lot of your stuff is not going to be creatures on anybody else's turn. So, Constant Mists is a repeatable fog. And for a long time, I railed against the use of fog in commanders, and I was wrong. Wrong. Bad wrong. I still don't run too many, usually never more than one per deck, because I don't want to put in too many things that don't actively progress my board state. But in a deck like this, being able to rebuy a fog, pretty valid. And another way to rebuy my fog is with Bala Ged Recovery, which is a must-have for every green deck for me. But now, let's get into the meat of it. Let's get into the getting while it's good. First, we've got some enchantments. And a lot of these, I don't play in anything else. They don't fit. They're not as good as they used to be. This here's a prime example of something that used to be the bomb diggity dog. But now, it just doesn't see any play. Outpost Siege used to be one of Red's best draw engines, but now, it's okay. But it smokes in this deck. Visions of Phyrexia was never really all that good in any deck, but it's good in this one. And then, stuff that's just good all around, Panharmonicon. Panharmonicon, you've got enough stuff with ETB effects that they're going to get you there, especially if you've got Guardian Project out or you've got Elemental Bond out. Every time you play an artifact or enchantment, you're drawing 2 cards. And drawing 2 cards is better than drawing 1. And you know what's better than drawing 2 cards? Drawing 3 cards. So if you get your Panharmonicon and your Guardian Project and your Alhammeret's Archive down, you're drawing 3 cards every time you do anything, and you're going to win. You're just going to value them out. You're going to jund them out, except you don't have to play black. I really like Uncivil Unrest because non-token creatures you control have Riot. Okay, fine. Riot means that when it comes in, you make a decision. You decide if it gets haste or if it gets +1/+1 counter. All your artifacts and enchantments with mana value 4 or greater already have haste, so you always put the +1/+1 counter on it, and that means that it punches for double. So if a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So that means that your Alhammeret's Archive isn't swinging for 4, it's swinging for 8. No, I'm sorry. Math is hard. It's swinging for 10 because it got a +1/+1 counter. So it's a 5/5, not a 4/4, and then it slaps somebody and it gets doubled. And the other thing is, on your turn, this is an elemental. Something coming into play is an elemental, and it's an elemental with Riot, so that's a trigger to make the decision. Well, I don't think that's actually right. I don't think that's how that works. I'm an idiot. But Roaming Throne is still a badass, and it still has Ward 2, and it means that every time you punch somebody, you draw 2 cards. It does mean that your Guardian Project, which is an elemental on your turn, Guardian Project will trigger twice, and twice is nice. Twice is very nice. You know what else is very nice? Twice as much power, twice as much punching. Xenagos, God of Rebels, you don't care what your devotion is, it's a 4/4. It's always a 4/4. Well, not always, but there's layers with all of that, and you can figure it out, you smart people. Here's one I really like. It's dumb. Stuffy Doll. They block your Stuffy Doll shoots somebody else. Because Stuffy Doll can take all kinds of damage, it's indestructible. And it's an indestructible 4/4. So now it's coming down, it's trying to punch somebody, they block it with a 7/7, well, you're pointing that 7 damage somewhere else. Unwinding Clock. Unwinding Clock is great once you start getting your cars going, because you're going to be swinging with them cars and then they're tapped. So you don't have anything left to block with, even if you crewed them. Except with Unwinding Clock, you can untap them. Mirror Works. Y'all know I love me a force multiplier, and Mirror Works doubles your pleasure, doubles your fun, doubles your butt whooping for 2 extra mana. And Fiery Emancipation. Do I even need to say anything about tripling the damage you're doing? Because tripling is even better than doubling, especially when it comes to punching. So emancipate your fire and slap somebody 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. Two of my favorite non-car cards in here, Threefold Thunderhulk and Hexibus, because they come in as 4/4s and they still come in with all of those counters. So that means that this guy comes in as a 7/7 and this guy comes in swinging 10. Good Lord. And then you pay some mana, you yoink some counters off that bad boy. Now all your stuff flies. And then Threefold Thunderhulk, it makes all kinds of little duders. Warstorm Surge. Every time something comes in, slap. Sunbird's Invocation. Whenever you cast something, get something else. Slap more. Giggling Skitter Spike. One, look at that art. Is that not the creepiest little doll head you've ever seen? My God. And I love this card. I mean, it's good on its base, but when it comes in as a 4/4, and as soon as it attacks, hey, everybody take 4. Oh, I'll spend 5 more, make it monstrous. Here, everybody take 9. Love it. And then after you get going and you get your Xenagos dropping something to an 8, then you cast Thickest in the Thicket and you put a pile of counters on something and then slap somebody with it. Slap somebody with Thickest in the Thicket. Look, an 8/8 for 5 ain't bad on its own. If you ain't got nothing but this and Bello, you still got an 8/8 indestructible with haste for 5 mana and you jamming pretty good. And then if this is your turn 3 play and this is your turn 5 play, you probably gonna have the biggest critter. So then you're gonna draw a couple cards on your end step. But now, let's get to the cars. Rev them up, y'all. Rev them up. I went with some of the most powerful and some of the silliest vehicles I could think of for this deck. And on the most powerful front, Asika's Chariot. This thing is a house in this deck. Because one, it makes cats. And we love cats here at the Redneck Johnny household. But man, making cats every turn, it's awesome possum. Then Surge Hacker Mech comes in and shoots people. Weatherlight comes in and digs for more artifacts or more legendaries. Recon Craft Theta. I know, right? It's silly. But it flies. So it comes in, it makes a little alien duder. You put a +1/+1 counter on it. It swings, and then your little alien duder's a 2/2. But it flies, so it's evasive. Weatherlight flies, so it's evasive. Sky Sovereign flies, and it lightning bolts a critter, so it's evasive and shoots something. Thunderhawk Gunship, which is like the best name for a vehicle ever. It flies. It makes something else fly. It makes everything else you got fly. And it brings 2 little duders. So you attack with this. You punch somebody. Then you got Unwinding Clock out. On the next dude's turn, you untap all your stuff. You got 2 little duders, so you can crew your gunship and block. Nautiloid Ship. Nuke that guy's graveyard, especially that Golgari player. Sorry, Joey, from EDH Recast. I know that hurt your soul. You'll get over it, I promise. Maybe. But you got to nuke them graveyards, and it flies. And this and flamples. Yeah, okay, look, I hate the phrase flample, too. I think it's ridiculous. But you get to blow up not just 1, but up to 4 non-basic lands. I'm not really sure why you're going to blow up your own land unless somebody slaps Imprison in the Moon on your Bello, because I don't know if it makes it a basic land. I don't know if it makes it a basic land or not. I don't think so. Song of the Dryad makes it a forest, so then you can nuke it if you can't nuke it if Song of the Dryad's on it. But anyway, you can blow up 3 of your opponent's busted lands that are giving you a problem, and it flies and it tramples. Night Paladin tramples, and Night Paladin shoots your opponents as soon as it gets there. Cyber Ship flies, and you steal your opponent's crap and make them Cybermen. I don't know anything about Doctor Who except Tom Baker is the best doctor ever. But I do know that taking your opponent's crap really tweaks them right in the snoot. So you want to do that as much as you can. and Reaver Titan. Okay, you can't swords this bad boy. You can't path this bad boy. You can't even beast within this bad boy. And every time it attacks, it's dealing 5 to every opponent. It don't get much better than that, except it does. It does. This is my very favorite card in the deck, and not just for the memes, but also for the memes. Rolling Hamsphere. It's a ball of hamsters whooping up on your opponents. It is just going to tear them up and spit them out. Chew them up even, because they're hamsters. They bite. So get you to 7 mana, get you a pile of hamsters, and whoop them. Now, we got to have land. And I don't remember how many I'm running. Probably 36 or 37, with counting a couple of MDFCs. But look, I love me a reflecting pool. Yavimaya. I've already told you I'm going to run some non-basic land destruction, so I'm going to run a Ghost Quarter. The Verge cycle from Bloomburrow and Aether Drift is just awesome. I love this set of lands, and going by the price, y'all do too. Kessig Wolf Run can finish off an opponent just by dumping mana in it late. I like these, I call them Signet lands, because they serve the same purpose as a Gruul Signet. In a 2-color deck, what's the harm in having a land that doesn't tap for anything on its own, but taps for 2 with help? Like I said, it's just like having a Gruul Signet. Rogue's Passage will help you get through. Rockfall Vale is fixing. Ash Barrens is basically a fetch land. Temple of Abandon helps you scry. 3 Tree City. You're always going to choose elementals, and it's going to be kind of useless on every turn but yours. But on yours, it's a Nykthos for elemental. Reliquary Tower, because if you are smart enough to remember the last line of text on Bello, which I am not, you're going to draw a bunch of cards. Exotic Orchard is good in this deck because you're playing green. And when's the last time you sat down at a table of Commander and there wasn't at least one other person playing green? Fabled Passage is one of my other fetches. Spire Garden, Commander staple. Cinderglade, fetchable, Mountain Forest, and pretty. Command Tower, Stomping Ground. Muruganda Raceway and Ancient Tomb. These are my soul lands in this deck. I really like a Muruganda Raceway because you're going to be punching people, so you're going to get up to that max speed fairly quickly, and that means that it's a better Temple of the False God. Wooded Foothills for my other fetch. Gruul Turf, Rootbound Crag, Command Beacon. You really want Command Beacon in this deck, y'all, because the second game you ever play with anybody, Bello's going to be a removal magnet. So being able to get him back out for 3, you're really going to want that. Boseiju, because sometimes things just got to go. War Room, because I will always pay 3 mana and 2 life to draw cards. And then Scavenger Grounds, because like I said, I feel like sometimes you just need to nuke some graveyards. And then I run 4 of each flavor of basic in this deck. I try not to run any fewer than 2 of each basic in any deck, and I really like 3 to be my sweet spot for a 3-color deck. But y'all, that's Bello, Bard of the Brambles, Raccoons in Cars, Trash Panda Mud Boggin. I hope you enjoy it. If you have made it this far, then my God, why have you not already subscribed? Get down there, give me a like, leave a comment. Tell me what kind of brand new tech I have left out. I would love to hear your favorite ad for this deck in the comments. And like I said, be sure to subscribe, ring that little bell to get notified, and I'll be back, y'all. Till then, get her done.